Hey there guys, and welcome back to another FPV guide video. The other day I said I'm gonna be looking at a big item that didn't really fit in my regular category, and this is what I was looking at. This box right here. It is a new airplane, the PARROT Disco, and it's turning out to be quite polarizing. So I'm gonna give you the bottom line right now. Some of you guys are going to be absolutely hating this aircraft, and some of you guys are gonna love this aircraft like crazy. You know, puppy dog kind of love. And there it is. It's a big box. If I do like this, you can see the Disco right here, and on the other side we see the controller, and the kit also comes with, why there's no picture of that? Well, down here it comes with the goggles. So let's crack into it and we'll take a look at this. And go and pull this one out, and then it opens up. That's a big box. In here we find, let's just go through things from an end, the goggles. This is not really video goggles because it's a goggle into which you insert your phone. You can see here how you can push this little tray out, and this tray here then opens up, and you literally put your phone inside like this. Notice the hole up here. So make sure the end of your phone points to that hole, then you close it back up and you put the entire thing inside the goggle, and now you're ready to go. Right next to the goggles, we find the controller. Here it is. It has the control buttons right here. It has the start, the launch and landing button right here. And it's got room for an adapter to hold your phone or your iPad right here. Over in the other end, we have the aircraft itself. And I should hurry up and mention, this was kindly provided by carolinadrones.com so that I could check this out and go flying and tell you guys how it all flies. Inside here, inside the unit, we find the chuck, which is the control center, and over here we have the battery. Now the battery drops right in here like this, and we're gonna come back and look more at that. Aircraft comes out. There we go, that's the entire core. Underneath the aircraft, here is the manual. And guys, this is one of the few products I have seen that actually comes with ½ an inch worth of manual. This is a huge thing because most of these flying devices are not fairly well documented. All right, in all fairness, this manual comes in 8 different languages, so you only get about 1/16 of an inch per language. Oh, last thing on this level is the little charger. There's some plug-in legs here depending on what country you use them in. One level down, the first thing we find is this thing here. That is the little thing to hold your tablet. It has a thing here so that when you put your phone in, the cable can still get to the end of the phone right here. Now, I gotta be perfectly honest, I have not figured out how to turn this. In the manual, it simply says just to turn it, but my unit doesn't turn. So there's no way on earth I can actually use this with my iPhone. I have to use it with a small iPad mini or a regular iPad. More interesting pieces, here's the wings. This is pretty much a standard styrofoam wing. When I say wing, I mean the wings we use to fly wings. That's not like long airplanes, but just one set of wings with a motor, which has become kind of one of the de facto FPV fixed wing planes over the last couple of years. You'll see that it has an adapter right here. It's just basically plastic on the foam where it attaches to the main body. Then it's cut out on the underside so that the wing can move like this. And you can see this all came out of kind of one mold. Now, Parrot has a lot of experience making high-end products, and we can see that right here because the white part of the wing is much harder. It's very heavy foam, or it's a harder foam compared to the black. And they have the heart of going in the front here, which is the leading edge, and the leading edge tends to be what you're gonna beat up when you have a hard landing. in this box, of course, we got 2 wings. Over here we have the power adapters. And finally we have some spare propellers. Well, you know my feeling about spare propellers. I don't think it applies as much to stuff with wings, but it's always good to have spare propellers, so thumbs up to that. What is so super cool about this design is that it is a flying by itself. Some people call it autonomous. It really isn't, because you do have to interact with it. This does not operate entirely by itself. But if you have never flown anything with wings ever, I am 99% sure you can pick this sucker up, put it together, and walk out to the nearest soccer field or football field or similar and successfully toss it in the air, fly it around for 20-30 minutes, and land it in one piece. Honestly, there's very few other things on the market that can do that. So that's what makes this unit super special. Looking at the wing right here, you can see there's a couple of carbon fiber rods. Those rods goes into the holes on the other side, so we just align these and they come together like this, and we just push. Now before we push it all the way together, we need to make sure the wing and this little adapter from the body comes together. And click, there it goes, see? Same process. Here you go, this thing is coming in, we get the 2 pins into the 2 holes. We go down here and make sure the aileron adapter is correct, and then we push it all together. And it's big. Did I mention this is really big? Now the last thing to get ready to fly, we're gonna crack this open. In here we find our power. We're gonna plug that in, and then we're gonna push the button up here, and you see how that is lightening up. Now, I'm keeping some safe distance from this propeller because I don't want to be too close to the propeller in this case here. So now it's basically getting ready, and the next thing we need to do is turn on the radio. You can fly this with just your radio without attaching anything. Now that you have seen it together in one piece, let's move on and start looking at some of the individual pieces. And the first thing I'm gonna do here, because I've already flown this, and if you look at this here, I got a really good cut in the front of this wing. That's because I was trying to keep it looking really nice so that it would look good in pictures for you guys. And I didn't really want to tell Frank from Carolina Drones that I already busted the brand new thing. But before I want to take this out and fly again, I'm going to type it up the way we usually do with wings. I like this Scotch tape here. I call it strapping tape. It actually is Scotch packaging tape from 3M. And this here stuff has a lot of structural integrity. So what we're gonna do is called taping. I'm gonna tape the wing from up here and all the way down to the root, closer to the body. The point is putting a strap of this in front of the leading edge. Whenever you hit a branch or something when you land, this tape is gonna distribute the energy so you don't get this cut here, because this cut basically cut probably ½ an inch into the wing, like straight in. And what I did was I pulled the branch out because the branch was now embedded in the wing. I'm gonna be perfectly honest, this is a lot easier without you guys watching. Here's the tape down to the end. This is the root of the wing. So I'm just gonna cut it clean. Ta-da! And then we're gonna smooth it down. So I'm just gonna kind of lay it down like this so that it rounds around the wing really nicely. And here comes the other side. And I'm just smoothing it down. There! Now we have armored the front of this. And this wing does have some flex to it, and a lot of times you can benefit from running additional tape over here, and it will remove a lot of the flex so that when you G-load the aircraft, the wing is not going to flex as much. However, the aircraft flies really nice exactly the way it is, so why mess with it? Now we also want to throw some tape on the front of the leading edge of the body core itself. So before we move forward, I mentioned before, some of you guys are gonna love this thing and some of you guys are gonna hate it. I know my friend Jim Bowers, he's loving it and he's been out flying it in the desert just like I have. But a lot of people are wanting to expand what this can do. So there's a lot of discussion about what other airframes can do, and also for how much money can you build an aircraft just like that. Let's start out with talking about what can it do. And for that, I'm gonna bring in my favorite little FPV airplane. Up here is a little FPV camera, the standard one from Horizon Hobby. And I just power this thing. Now I've got video and I can fly goggles with this thing. But more importantly, this little aircraft can do it all because it's what's called a 3-axis aircraft. We've got ailerons on the side, on both sides, and in the back, we've got an elevator that pitches the nose up and down, and we've got a rudder that tilts the aircraft or yaws the aircraft from side to side. What that allows you to do is everything in the book essentially, because the way this works together, if we just roll, the aircraft will start to go this way, but if we combine our movements, we can roll it over on the side, and then we can give a little bit of rudder to get the nose up, and now we're flying what's called knife's edge, because we're using the body of the aircraft as a wing, but we are balancing it using the ailerons. And we can only do that because we have a separate rudder and separate elevator here. The important part that I'm trying to get across here is we've got the ailerons, the elevator, and the rudder giving us 3-axis control. So now that you know why my little red Pitts airplane works, let's get back to the Disco. The Disco have no tail. Disco has no elevator. What it does have is ailerons on each side. So here's an aileron and here's an aileron. Basically what that allows you to do, if both ailerons goes up, the aircraft noses up. If both of them goes down, the aircraft noses down. And if one goes up and one goes down, it will be pushing down the wing. So if this one comes up, it'll be pushing that wing down. That means when you roll it, the lift from this aircraft is now gonna basically turn it around, and it's the lift that turns it through the turn. And here's the problem. The shock in this thing, and you can't really control this 2-axis airplane much past a tight turn. The more you take it up this way here, the more it's gonna want to turn because the lift is lifting it through the turn. The problem here is you can't like fly it upside down without having some more advanced ailerons on the end here. Like for instance, you couldn't just give it a flat turn. Like with the red airplane, you can move just the rudder and it's gonna turn the aircraft as it's flying down along, but it's still gonna keep kind of going this way until you start put in a roll. We don't have rudders out here, we just have wingtips. To do that, some people are making a little bit more advanced ailerons here, and they're basically either splitting them here so that one can come up and one down, and it now puts in a brake, and that will give you yaw. But obviously this one doesn't have it. By the way, another cool way to do that is a split 2 ailerons in one so that you can move them up and down and basically get a little bit of an air brake on one side, and thereby you get a rudder function. Again, this thing does not have a rudder, so it can't do all the things that the little red plane does in terms of technical moves. But that's not really so important because it was not intended to do that. And that's where the next step in talking about this aircraft comes in, what it was intended to do. This is a super easy airplane to fly. I mean, it's really easy. You literally can toss it up in the air. It's gonna fly itself up there and start making some circles. And then when you want to take over, you pick up the radio and you push the stick a little bit to the side, and now you're driving. But if you let go of the stick, this airplane is going to look after itself until it runs out of batteries. So basically, if you want it home, you just press return to home, it's going to come, and eventually it's going to circle down and land without you doing anything. Now, of course, if you did that in a city or between big trees, circling down and landing is not going to work out really well. So keep that in mind. You cannot do stupid things because this thing does not read minds. So who should really get one of these suckers? Well, obviously it should be people that want a super easy to fly aircraft. Let's take a look inside here. This thing is attached with magnets, so it's super easy to take on and off. You just tuck it under the nose and push the end down, pull up on the end and pull it backwards, and you're back in. Well, let's get back to the chuck. Inside here we have this red box that looks a lot like something you would find in an airplane black box. It is red, it's got stripes, it's meant to take a beating, and they have really done a good job with this. This box here does take a beating, and it's pretty safe to say most times when you completely destroy the airplane, this may still be working. If it's still working, it means you can yank it out, and all you have to do is buy a new core and put the parts back into the new core. Now, if you look at the chuck right here, you can see on the back of it, it has an XT60 plug right here, and then it has servo connectors here and here. That is the right aileron, and here's the left aileron. What you see here is the motor. So this is the power for the motor, which is sitting in the back here. The motor is not particularly big, but it is fairly efficient. And here on the motor, we also have a folding propeller. So if you come in and you're landing, this propeller is going to fold up and you won't actually break the propeller in a landing. In here, we also have the battery. Turn this around for you. It kind of comes in a nifty little case. This is a 3S 2700 milliamp battery, and up here on front you'll see that it has pretty much a standard XT60 plug. And before you wonder, yes, I have tried to plug a similar regular battery into here. It will power the thing just fine, and there's no problems at all. This is not a smart battery by any means. It's just a 3S 2700 milliamp battery that has been packaged in a nice plastic box, the way Parrot likes to do with batteries. And there's actually several people that has put much bigger batteries in there and has already gone past an hour and a half of flight time and more than 40 miles of total flight. Not how far they went, but back and forth to get a ton of flight distance in. One of the things that's causing a lot of confusion with this aircraft is that Parrot is actually advertising that you can easily use this with a regular RC controller. What they don't mention is if you want to use it with a regular RC controller, you have to put an RC module, a receiver module like a Spectrum receiver inside here, like glue it in here. Then you have to put the antennas out here, and then you have to connect the cable out from the RC controller into the chuck. But by doing that, you're essentially losing most of the chuck's features. In my personal opinion, if you have any need at all for flying this aircraft with an external radio, this is not the one to get. You should simply buy a wing, put 2 servos and a motor on it, and you're ready to go for a lot less money. You shouldn't be buying this aircraft unless you want the chuck as is, without modifying the chuck. What you paid for here is the amazing capability in terms of ease of operation that you get here. If you want something different, like say for long distance, this one out of the box, if you take off the geofence, it will go out to 3,500 meters, which is, if you need more than that, this aircraft is not really for you. Because you can buy an aircraft for a lot less money. You can buy this foam frame essentially just like this from another manufacturer. Then you can put an other flight controller in it, like an Eagle Tree, and you can put a UFH controller on it, and now you got like 40 miles range using a UHF control system and 1.3 gigahertz video back to you. You can go forever, and the Eagle Tree and several other flight controllers has many of the same features You can probably build that for about $500 to $800, depending how you do it. I know some people are saying you can build the entire thing for $500. That's probably a little optimistic, but it could probably be done. While we're talking about the price, you probably noticed Horizon Hobby came out with the FreeWell. That is a $299 wing ready to fly with a camera and an antenna for the video transmitter. Everything ready to go. But it's not just $299 because you also need goggles and you need a controller. So by the time you have a $200 pair of goggles and a $300 pair of controller, you are into about $800 to fly the FreeWell. Again, if you're already flying, you probably have those components, but we gotta keep that part of the math because this aircraft comes with the goggles and the controller. So the $1,300 for this aircraft includes everything it takes to get up in the air the first day. Enough about that. Let's take a quick look at the controller here. Over here is where you install the little mount that goes and holds your iPhone or your tablet. Like I said, my mount doesn't allow me to turn it, so I don't know how to install it. It's not really working for me. However, the controller here is easy to operate. We have the button you push here, that's gonna start the launch, and it's gonna start the motor for 10 seconds. So now you have 10 seconds to toss the aircraft up in the air. And when you're ready to land and have it pointed towards yourself, you simply push this button, and now it's gonna start descending until it hits the ground. And when it gets close to the ground, and it knows that, because on the bottom here it has an ultrasound sensor and it has a camera that tells it how fast it's moving. Now, unique on this aircraft is it also up here has a Pitot Tube. See this Pitot Tube right here? That's a hollow tube and has a little hole in the front so that the air pressure can be measured, and the chuck actually knows how fast the aircraft is going, and that helps you avoid stalling out while in the air. And one of the cool things the chuck does is when you set an altitude, it's gonna keep flying at that height until you changes the height. So that's what the chuck does for you. It makes it super easy to fly because it manages all the details of flying. You really don't need very much here. The B, push the B and that starts recording video. And actually, you don't even have to do that because when you toss it up in the air, it starts recording video by itself. Now, when you take a break or you want to stop recording and take some still shots, you can stop recording and then you can press the green one to take a still shot. Over here is the return to home button. Push on that and it comes home and start loitering over you until it either gets low on battery or you decide to land it. Now here's a bit of video of me tossing it up in the air. Notice how I'm basically whipping it around and letting go, and watch this. It's going in a completely straight line all the way up in the sky, and then it starts circling around until I take over control. That's all there's to it. Now, my first landing here, I did everything completely wrong because I kept flying it in. What you really want to do is you want to point it to where you're going, push the landing button, and let it, now it's going to come down very low energy, and you use this stick here, the turning stick, to kind of steer it down until it flares and lands. Don't try to fly it all the way down like you would with a regular wing. Now, a huge part of the advertised value here is the fact you get the stereo goggles. And you basically get a stereo 2 images on your iPhone. So basically, I could not see snot through these official goggles. They're completely useless if you wear glasses like me. On the upside, Frank helped me out again. So that's Frank from CarolinaDrones.com, and thank you, dude. And what he got me was a pair of his FreeWell goggles here. Let me show you how they work real quickly. Up on top here, you see these 2 screws? One on each side. It's actually attached, but when I move it back and forth here, you see the front moving in and out. That focuses the goggle, and now I can see nice and sharp. So if you wear glasses and you intend to fly the Disco FPV, get yourself a pair of the FreeWells from Frank at Carolina Drones. I'm not gonna bore you anymore with this one. I wanted to get a quick unbox video in before I started flying this a lot, because I promise you I'm gonna chew it up really badly. And I wanted to show it to you guys before I started taping it. Now that you have seen it, I've taped it up and I'm ready to start fly for real and really have some fun with this thing. Like I said, if you're already an experienced wing pilot, stay the heck away from this thing. You're not gonna enjoy it. However, if you're getting into flying fixed wings, or if you're just simply getting into FPV at all, you're probably gonna like this a lot because it flies by itself, and then you can take over and fly it by the sticks right up there for as long as you want, back and forth, up and down. When you're ready to land, you can make the aircraft do its own landing. So that really helps you get over some of the biggest hurdles to getting to fly something with wings. Because this thing can fly itself. You are along for the ride and you get to steer. And then you get to decide when you use the auto start and auto land. That makes it a lot easier to control. Now that said, I noticed that Pix4D, which is a company that does 3D models using airborne systems, they are putting together a version of their software to allow you to create 3D models from the video coming out of this thing here. That is a very commercial application. It's also $300 to $400 a month for the commercial version. There is a cheaper version for real estate agents to create objects of just a house at a time. And basically you would have to fly kind of figure eights around it a couple of times so that the camera get a good angle. But you could create a 3D model using that and Pix4D. You can also further improve that by cutting out back here and dropping one of the square GoPro cameras in, and I would then cut out in the bottom here so that it gets kind of a recess just like the front camera has. That would get you better video if you wanted to do mapping or if you wanted to go search for somebody. The thing is though, the quality of this camera is not super high in the goggles. So that means you shouldn't count on finding somebody sitting down somewhere in the desert unless they're wearing bright colors and looking different, kind of standing out. You're not gonna see them coming over really quickly if they're not standing out in the clear and looking for you. I don't see myself until I'm right on top of myself when flying in the desert. What I mean to say is, this is a consumer aircraft. It doesn't have a lot of the commercial applications which its brother, the SenseFly, does have. So there you have it. If you want to get into something that flies with wings and you don't have a lot of experience, this is the ticket. Incredibly easy to fly, and I really mean that. You can have your kid throw this thing up in the air, it's gonna fly. Put the goggles on, you can take your goggles off, have a sip of your soda, and have this thing wait for you till you're done with your soda, and then keep flying. There's really not many other things that do that easily without you having to build them yourself from scratch. And that's what's unique about this aircraft. It's ready to fly out of the box. You can build something that can do essentially the same things for less money, but you have to build it. So if you know how to build it, you should probably go straight to that and build it yourself. Because if you already know how to build it, you're probably not going to be super impressed with this, because there is better flying things out there. Super easy to fly. Check it out. I'm going to get some more videos of course, and make sure you subscribe for some more videos.